The dark truth behind money's karma, why wealth vanishes at 3 a.m. and haunts you forever. As the clock strikes 3, the veil of night deepens, and shadows creep like whispers through the stillness of the world. Unseen eyes seem to watch from the darkness, their hunger palpable, hungry for wealth, desperate for the riches that slip through fingers like grains of sand. Legends speak of a curse long settled, one that sends the affluent spiraling into the abyss the very moment the witching hour tolls. They say that at 3 a.m., your fortune holds its breath before vanishing, leaving behind only the suffocating weight of loss. In every corner of town, stories of the cursed hour ripple through quiet conversations. A banker found in a cold sweat, staring at his empty bank account, though just hours earlier it overflowed with zeros. An entrepreneur who, after years of sacrifice, woke to find his empire crumbled like a house of cards, debt swallowing him whole. The tale seemed too wild to be true, yet a nagging sense of something sinister lurks just beneath the surface. The air grows colder as realization dawns, wealth vanishes, but at what cost? The traces left behind, the lives ruined, echo through the streets, chilling hearts, tension fills the air, heavy enough to cut. Questions gnaw at the edges of sanity, who or what hunts the prosperous at this ungodly hour? As the clock approaches 3, the atmosphere thickens, a prelude to the upheaval soon to unfold. The wind whispers secrets, rustling through leaves, as if nature itself holds its breath in anticipation. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The clock chimes menacingly, and shadows lengthen as uncertainty grips the air, a shroud waiting to descend. A young woman, armed only with her instincts and a flashlight, ventures into the heart of the town square, stone and brick illuminated in the ghostly glow of streetlights. A flicker catches her attention. Was that movement? Her heart pounds deafeningly as if it knows a truth she has yet to discover. The ground beneath her feet feels like it thrums, pulsating in rhythm with the ominous clock, and then, silence. The world holds its breath just as she does. The stage is set, and a chilling dread washes over her. How long until the secrets buried come clawing back into the light? What will she unearth, and will it consume her too? The chilling silence was broken by the sharp clang of the church bells resonating through the cold night air. Each stroke echoed like a countdown. It was 3 o'clock. And with it, the very atmosphere seemed to shudder. The young woman tightened her grip on the flashlight, its beam slicing through the darkness. Shadows danced around her, cast by the flickering streetlights that struggled against the encompassing gloom. She took a deep breath, forcing herself forward. What was that flicker? An errant thought? Fear twisted in her belly. The story swirled in her mind like a dark storm. Wealth slipping away, fortunes erased, lives fraught with despair. She had heard it all, and yet here she was, confronting the myth. Head on. As she stepped closer to the empty fountain, the air grew thick, almost viscous. Shadows melded together, forming shapes that seemed to whisper her name. Is anyone there? She called out, her voice trembling, barely escaping her lips. Nothing replied, but she sensed an entity linger just beyond the radius of her flashlight. Then, a soft rustle. Panic surged within her. She turned, directing the beam toward the sound, illuminating a figure darting behind a nearby tree. Her heart raced, the soft thud pulsing like a drum in her chest. Hello? She called again, more boldly this time. Silence enveloped her. Then, out of the stillness, a chilling laugh echoed. It rang out, hauntingly familiar yet utterly foreign. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. She could not move. The laughter bore into her, consuming her thoughts with dread. This was no ordinary night. It felt alive, electric. Maybe it wasn't just the wealthy being watched. Maybe the curse had tentacles, reaching out for anyone daring enough to wander too close to its dark secrets. Trembling, she took a cautious step back but halted when she stumbled upon a peculiar object half hidden in the overgrown grass. Leaning down, she picked up a small, ornate mirror, its surface tarnished, reflecting dark shapes distorting her own visage. Suddenly, images swirled within its depths, shadows melding into figures of those who had lost it all, fingers clawing at the edges, eyes wide, filled with terror and cries for help. Their silent screams resonated in her mind as flashes of sorrow and greed converged. Desperation filled her. She dropped the mirror reflexively, the glass shattering into pieces. Its fragments glimmered like fractured visions of lost hopes littered across the pavement. In the chaos, she glanced back to the tree, but now it stood empty. An empty space where a presence had lingered moments ago. What had she unleashed? Whose cries were echoed through the shattered shards? The pulse of fear clawed at her, and she felt herself caught in the web of a larger game. Then, in the dark recesses of the square, something began to stir, slowly rising, like a tide creeping into shore. A figure emerged, cloaked in shadows, eyes glinting like shards of ice. "What have you done?" it whispered, a voice like gravel sliding against glass. Her heart hammered in her chest as the figure drew near, each step sending waves of dread through her. She stumbled back, heart racing. And then she realized a truth buried beneath the weight of legends. There was a price to be paid, one she had only just begun to understand. What would she do next? Could she escape, or would she succumb to the darkness? The clock continued to tick, and the witching hour was far from over. Her breath caught in her throat as the figure moved closer, an almost tangible shadow slipping through the night. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, an increasing tempo that resonated in her ears. "What have you done?" the voice echoed with a sinister glee that made her skin crawl. She felt exposed, like a moth with its wings slowly being drawn to an unforgiving flame. I didn't mean to." she stammered, instinctively backing away, desperate to escape, but the darkness seemed to clamp around her. "You've awakened forces you cannot comprehend," the figure hissed, every word dripping with malice. It advanced again, and her feet found the courage to move. She pivoted, sprinting toward the exit of the square. The glow of the streetlights now felt like fading lifelines. The sound of footsteps followed, eerily rhythmic, as if they danced to an otherworldly tune. Her breath came in short gasps, each inhale heavy with dread. Behind her, shadows lunged and swirled, and she imagined claw-like hands reaching out, grasping for her. Just as she neared the wrought iron gates, a sudden noise shattered her thoughts. A crash echoed through the square, startling her. She glanced back, her heart plummeting as she caught sight of the mirror fragments vibrating on the ground. They shimmered, like 1,000 eyes watching her, seemingly alive. "Stop!" the figure shouted, its voice now a cacophony mingled with the sound of tortured souls. "You will not escape the truth. You will face the weight of your actions." She stumbled to a halt, doubt clawing at her. What truth? The curse? Her mind raced back to all the stories she had heard of the fallen fortunes and tortured lives. What if they were more than just tales to scare children? With shaking hands, she bent to pick up one of the larger shards. The jagged, glassy edge caught the light, illuminating her hesitance and fear. In it, she glimpsed not just her reflection, but swirling images of despair, a family losing everything, a business crumbling under greed, lovers torn apart by envy. Each one clawed at her conscience, demanding recognition. "No! It's not my fault!" she shouted, her voice cracking against the weight of silence, desperate to cast away blame. Memories flooded back, her own childhood struggles, the sacrifices her parents made for survival. She hadn't sought wealth, she had craved stability, a chance to break free from the cycle of victimhood. "Is that what you think?" the figure hissed, its tone low and dangerous. "Desire what was never meant for you, and the price will always rise, even if it costs you everything." Panic surged within her as she gripped the shard tightly, fear mingling with fury. "I want to be a part of this," she screamed, but doubt flickered, threatening to engulf her. Suddenly, a deep rumble rolled through the air, shaking the very ground beneath her. The shadows writhed in chaos, the figure screamed a sound so ghastly it threatened to shatter her mind. She dropped the shard, but the damage had been done. The air crackled with energy, sparking dangers she couldn't comprehend. As her instincts kicked in, she darted toward the exit once more, fueled by the primal urge to flee. But in her heart, gnawing doubt grew. What if running wasn't the answer? What if confronting this darkness could break the chain of doomed souls forever tied to this cursed place? Without thinking, she turned around, grounding herself against the creeping shadows. "Show me!" she shouted, determination rising within her. Show me the truth. And as she did, the world around her twisted and contorted, the darkness sparking with light, revealing secrets that were pulsing and raw. But even as she braced for the answers, a thought loomed larger than all her fears. What if the truth was too horrifying to bear? And as the air thickened with revelation, the true nature of the curse began to surface. The air shimmered like a brewing storm as her command echoed through the square. Shadows twisted and writhed, and from them emerged a series of images, tangled and vivid. They played out before her like an old, forgotten film, one that she couldn't turn away from, no matter how much she wanted to. In one frame, she saw a man standing at the precipice of a crumbling cliff, his hands smeared in ink, clutching papers that evaporated into the wind. His face twisted with anguish, a businessman whose greed had led him to the edge. She felt his desperation seep into her, cold and unyielding. In another, a family sat silent at a dinner table. The warmth of the meal before them turned to ash in the air, words lost beneath the heavy weight of unsaid burdens. Their eyes were hollow, reflecting the deep scars of envy and betrayal. They stared right through her, demanding that she confront the life-sucking attachments she had intertwined with her own. The figure moved closer, now more defined, the shadows falling away to reveal a visage twisted in both rage and pity. "You think you can escape the depths of this curse?" it sneered. "Let me show you how it clings to you, how it festers." Suddenly, the square surged with energy, a charged electric sensation that buzzed at her fingertips and made her skin prick. The darkness folded over her like a thick shroud while the light within crackled with an intensity she had never known. She gasped as more images formed, spinning together in a rapid whirlwind, a montage of lost dreams and familial tragedies, each tale more heart-wrenching than the last. "Why?" she cried out, desperation clawing at her throats. "Why does it have to be this way?" The figure lifted a skeletal hand, gesturing toward the swirling darkness. "Because you did this. You think you can take what isn't meant for you without consequence? Wealth has a pulse, and it remembers those who wear it unjustly. Do you think you are exempt? No. You are merely another thread in this web." A chilling silence washed over the square, her heart thudding in the aftermath of what she had witnessed. The thought struck her like a lightning bolt. Had her desires for wealth, for stability, pulled her into this cycle? Was she just as guilty as those in the shadows? It began to dawn on her, the real horror of her situation. The curse wasn't just a tangible force, it wove through her choices, lurking behind every ambition, every moment she reached for what fell out of her grasp. "What must I do?" she whispered, despair taking root in her chest like a vine. "How do I break this?" The figure leaned closer, their breath an acrid wind that sent chills down her spine. "You must confront the darkness within yourself. Only through sacrifice can you hope to set these souls free. The clock is ticking, and when the hour strikes 3, your past will demand payment." Panic surged anew, and as the shadows receded, she felt the gravity of her choices weighing down on her, blending with the urgency of the coming deadline. "Show me the way," she shouted, but deep inside, a question gnawed at her consciousness. What price would she have to pay to unravel this tangled web? The shadows flickered, the air grew thick with tension, and she knew this was just the beginning of her terrifying descent into the truth. And as the energy pulsed and shifted around her, she braced herself for what lay ahead, holding on to a single thought: she was running out of time. A cold sweat ran down her spine, dripping from her temples like beads of fear. The square stood silent, yet her heart raced violently, echoing the memories of those tortured souls. What darkness awaited her? She could feel it, a creeping dread that whispered around her, demanding she confront the unthinkable. In the moving shadows, a figure emerged, another fragment of the cursed reality she found herself in. This one was a girl, no older than 16, her eyes brimming with tears that twisted into the air, shimmering like stars fallen from the night sky. "Please," the girl choked out, her voice heavy with despair. "You can't let it consume you." "Consume me?" she echoed, her voice shaking. "You don't understand. I'm just chasing after a better life." "But at what cost?" The girl pressed, stepping closer, each stomp of her foot sending ripples through the air like a stone dropped in water. "You've toyed with the very essence of desire. Look around you. My family, we paid the price. Our dreams turned to vapor, just like yours. You think wealth can shield you?" Clarity slapped her across the face like a bitter wind. She knew this girl's story. They had all been lured by false promises and empty hopes. The girl was a mirror, reflecting her own selfish ambitions. The world around them pulsed and shifted with an ominous energy that made her skin crawl. "What do I have to give up?" she whispered, dread coursing through her as she slowly accepted the sobering truth she would need to make a choice, and it couldn't come from a place of greed. "You must face what you've done," the girl urged, her expression weaving from sorrow to sunlight, giving hope even in despair. "Forgive yourself. Release the burdens you cling to." The shadows darkened again, swirling violently as if rebelling against the girl's words. A chilling howl echoed through the square, and the once vibrant images faded, leaving only silent pleas echoing in her mind. She inhaled sharply, her heart beating like a hammer as she pondered this moment. The crossroads of her soul, just beyond them, darkness flickered ominously, revealing the faces of the damned. They were distorted and twisted with regret, stuck in time like trapped moths in a web. Their mournful eyes bore into her, demanding acknowledgement, retribution for the misdeeds she had unwittingly allowed to worm into her heart. 3 o'clock is almost here, the girl warned, pulling her closer. "Do you feel it? The darkness grows heavier. You can't hide from your truth. You must confront your failures to break the curse." "What if I can't?" The words tore from her throat, each one like a stone slipping from her grasp into the abyss. The weight of her own past loomed ever closer, relentless and foreboding. "You must try," the girl insisted, her voice a lifeline amid the chaos. "Clench your fists and step into your truth. It won't be easy." As the shadows morphed into grotesque faces of regret, her chest burned with anxiety. The clock on the tower nearby ticked loudly, each second ringing like a death knell. Suddenly, everything stilled. A blinding light burst through the shades, illuminating the square like the sun breaking through a thunderstorm. She squinted through the glare, and in that brilliant flash, she saw her own reflection shimmering in the light. A fragile image emerged, one defined not by wealth, but by integrity, transparency, and sacrifice. And then, the light receded. The haunting shadows returned, now swirling more intensely around her, closer than ever. "Time's running out," the girl's voice echoed as all of this converged. The urgency clawed at her insides as she took another breath, but as she prepared to confront her darkest self, the crumbling question pressed on her like a vice: how much of herself would she have to surrender to free those souls? The shadows drew nearer, and for the final moment, she stood wavering, caught in a battle between her ambition and the haunting shadows of her past. As the clock struck 2, the weight of the choice loomed over her like an axe about to fall, threatening to sever the remnants of her soul. Would she find the strength to face the demons within, or would she fold under the pressure of her past? Time slipped away like grains of sand, and the shadows laughed, echoing their eternal torment. What awaited her in the shadows of her own soul? A chilling silence enveloped the square as she braced herself against the oncoming dread. The shadows shivered like restless spirits, swirling with a life of their own, closing in with every breath she took. Heart racing, she thought fleetingly of her dreams, now tainted by this dark revelation. Was wealth worth the shame it carried? "Listen to me." The girl's voice pierced the darkness, cutting through the suffocating tension. "You need to see what you've become. The treasures you chased, they'll betray you. Face the truth, let it wash over you. It's the only way you can save us." "The only way," she repeated, the words hanging in the air, thick with desperation. Doubt clawed at her heart, and she clenched her fists tighter, feeling the pulse of regret beating in her temples. "What if I don't want to?" "Then they'll take you too," the girl warned, her eyes wide with urgency. "You'll slip into the darkness, and you'll become nothing, just another tortured soul." The thought twisted her stomach like a vice. Panic surged within her, and she stumbled backward, colliding with the cold stones of the square. The faces of the damned watched her, their expressions a diabolical mix of yearning and despair. Each one seemed to whisper in unison, a chilling chorus filled with warnings of loss and regret. "Show me," she breathed, the admission slipping from her lips. "Show me my truth." With a sudden flicker, the shadows parted to reveal a swirling vortex of memories, each one like a window into her past. She was pulled forward, unwilling yet captivated. Vivid scenes unfolded before her, the late nights spent chasing deals, the lies wrapped in false kindness, and the faces of those she had trampled on her climb to success. No! She gasped, heat flooding her cheeks. The girl's eyes widened as she began to see the wreckage of her perfect life unraveling. You can change this. The girl urged passionately, her voice a beacon amid the turmoil. It's not too late to rewrite your story, but you must face everything you've done. The echoes of her past filled the air with sorrowful wails, each one cutting into her like daggers. She covered her ears, desperate to drown them out, but they only grew louder, demanding recognition. Suddenly, the square darkened again, and a figure emerged from the shadows. It was her older and bound by chains of her own making, eyes shadowed and empty. The apparition laughed, a wicked sound that sent chills through her very core. You think you can escape? This is who you are now. The truth struck like lightning. She cringed, feeling every bruise she left on others festering. There was no more denying it, this twisted reflection was just as much a part of her story as her dreams. She had hidden from the truth, allowing ambition to eclipse morality. Make the choice. The girl's voice rang out, desperate and fractured. You can embrace this fine redemption, or hold on to the shadows and let them claim you. The clock tower struck 3, each toll reverberating in her chest like a judge's gavel. Instinctively, she stumbled back, terror clawing up her spine. Were her moments of greed truly worth the price? Could she really unravel the threads of her own destruction? No! She screamed, pushing against the weight of her past. I don't want to be her. You don't have to be. The girl's words ignited a flicker of hope within her. Dare to choose light over darkness. Dare to forgive yourself. But as shadows danced closer, whispering their seductive tales, she felt the suffocating grip of her desires pulling her beneath the surface. Could she find the courage to relinquish them? To let go of everything that defined her in order to save not just herself, but those suffering souls? The desperate call of the damned sounded like thunder in her ears. Time was slipping away. Where would she turn? The ultimate sacrifice loomed as thick as the shadows. In that critical moment, a single thought flickered through her mind. Was it too late to rewrite her fate, or had the shadows already decided her story? And as the darkness closed in, she knew that the time for revelation was now. More than one soul hung in the balance. One decision could change everything. Would she step into the light, or remain lost in the eternal night? The air crackled with tension, each pulse a reminder that a choice loomed right in front of her. The girl's words echoed in her mind, urgent and piercing. She stood at a crossroads. One path led into the blinding light of redemption, while the other spiraled deeper into the suffocating darkness. The clocks continued to toll, each chime like a countdown enhancing the awareness of her heartache, but the moment stretched out, stretching her resolve. She took a shaky breath, feeling the weight of regret tightening around her. Memories pressed in on her, those joyless nights filled with hollow laughter, faceless people who had once trusted her, now mere shadows of their former selves, tainted by her choices. One hand trembled as it gripped a gleaming gold coin, the same one that had once symbolized her success but now felt as heavy as lead. No, I can't let this define me. She yelled, her voice crackling with defiance. The shadows around her seemed to pause, halting in their relentless advance. The girl's eyes filled with recognition, a flicker of hope as if a fragile bridge of understanding was built in that instant. Then fight! She cried, the light in her voice surging like a beacon. You are not lost yet. With a sudden clarity, she turned back to the lingering remnants of her past. What do I need to do? She implored, searching for the answer that felt just out of reach. The faces of the tormented grew clearer, each one silently pleading for acknowledgement. The boy with sorrowful eyes, a former friend she betrayed for a deal, the woman who had worked tirelessly beside her, only to be discarded as a stepping stone. Each ghost remained part of her tangled fate, reminding her that strength came through unity rather than isolation. Face them, apologize, the girl urged, her voice trembling as if she understood the price of such vulnerability. Your truth can free you. The shadows quivered with a new intensity, hungry for her reluctance, for her fear. She lifted her gaze to the ghostly audience and stepped forward. I'm sorry, she launched into the chaos of remorse. I've wronged you. I chased an image that was never real. I cared only for what I could gain, not who I could hurt. The honesty released an energy that buzzed through her, feeding back into the fragile light around her. As she continued to speak, words pouring like an unending cascade, the tolling clock slowly seemed to shift. At every utterance of regret, the chains holding the younger version of herself began to crack. Yet, the darkness remained, swirling with rage, unwilling to let her go. Its whispers grew louder, taunting her fragility. Weak. It hissed. Look at you, begging for forgiveness. You'll never make it out. But she stood firm, shaking off the icy fingers clawing at her mind. No. This is my truth now. I own it, and I'll change. She felt the weight lifting, shadows retreating with every word of sincerity. The crowd of ghosts leaned in, expressions shifting from despair to cautious hope. The girl beside her beamed, but the threat still loomed. You must believe it yourself. All at once, a wave of doubt crashed over her. Memories surged forward that tempted the darkness to creep back. Would she falter? Could she truly withstand the weight of everything she had done? In that moment, the shadows lunged once more, desperate to snatch her back. With a surge of determination, she could feel the warmth of choice. It wouldn't be easy, but that didn't matter. She was willing to fight. The darkness wasn't just a figure, it was the reflection of every unchecked ambition. But this time, she wouldn't shrink away. The clock struck a final hour, a haunting chime in her heart that resonated deeper than before. She faced the encroaching shadows, now solid and foreboding. For the first time, she realized that darkness could only survive in her silence. And just as she opened her mouth to proclaim her newfound resolution, a deafening crack split the night air, a jagged tear in the reality she had known. Chaos erupted. Would she stand her ground, or would that final fracture give her a push into an abyss yet unseen? The shadows howled, vibrating with a menacing hunger, as the questions lingered. What lay beyond this moment of reckoning? The darkness tightened its grip, and her heart raced against the ticking clock. Could she find the strength to fight back, or was it already too late? The crack in the air pulsed like a heartbeat, expanding and contracting with the sound of despair. Shadows lashed out, twisting and spiraling around her, desperate to reclaim the grip they once held. She felt it pressing against her skin, a frigid intensity that seeped into her bones. The girl's breath hitched as the chaos spun around her wildly, whirling in a frantic dance of uncertainty. The darkness beckoned, promising peace and surrender while gnawing at her resolve. Stand firm. She willed herself, though fragility quirked in her insides like a sickness. Fight back. Echoed the voice she had heard just moments before, urging her forward like a lighthouse cutting through a storm. She reminded herself of her truth. She could pivot this nightmare into something worthy. With each pulse of darkness, she could feel the guilt cascading over her, reminding her of the pain she had inflicted and the memories that burned like undercurrents. Apologize. The command echoed in her chest, igniting a plan formed by desperation. She took a step into the depths of her regret, hands trembling but focused. I'm sorry. She called into the dark, her voice ringing loud as the chaos swirled. The shadows hissed, wild and agitated. You think it's that simple? They scoffed, their voices a chorus of torment. You're still stuck in your web of lies. No! She shouted, newfound fury igniting a fire in her core. I am not what I was. I won't be your pawn anymore. And for a moment, time froze. The shadows recoiled slightly, caught off guard by her sudden defiance. The churning darkness seemed to flicker. I heard you. I heard everyone. I admit it. The air grew thick with emotion, suffocating her, yet she pushed through, hoping her transparency would disassemble the tendrils wrapping around her heart. It felt as though a barrier was breaking, an unveiling that clawed through every taunt and criticism she had ever faced. Suddenly, a flicker of light emerged, illuminating the first raw glimmers of redemption, delving deep into the recesses of her soul. But even as she felt it stir, doubt crept like a shadow in the corner of her mind. Would the light hold? Her memories twisted, the boy with sad eyes became clearer, the betrayal stabbing deeper. The clock continued to toll, each tick marking the space between her urge to flee and the bravery to confront. What more do you want from me? She cried out, her voice breaking as the tears threatened to spill. Can't you see I'm trying to change? But the darkness, insatiable, wrapped around her throat like a noose, squeezing tight. You think change comes easy? Without consequence? The shadows mocked her, each word like daggers rampaging through her spirit. She steadied herself, heart hammering, face flushed. Nothing worthwhile comes easy. She yelled, the fear swelling into determination. I've clawed my way through this life, wrestled with everything I've done. The chaos howled louder, a gale of discontent. Armor of shame began to crack, shafts of clarity poured through. But still, tendrils of darkness slinked in, assuring her of her impending failure. Then, she felt a rush of collective energy from the ghosts surrounding her, each one lighting a spark of resistance. They were not just remnants, they were echoes of understanding. You're not alone, she could almost hear them whisper, giving her the strength to take another step. Her heart thudded in her chest, resonating with their spirit. I won't abandon you again. She shouted, pushing through the shadows, her essence illuminating the void that had held her captive for so long. Yet, just as hope entwined itself in the fabric of her resolve, the shadows lunged with a brutal ferocity. You think mere words will save you? They roared, an influx of rage surging around her like a storm. You're fooling yourself. Fight, fight, fight. Pounded in her head as she pushed back against the suffocating hatred. The ghostly faces shimmered, their eyes pleading as they fell back, urging her forward. Each heartbeat surged with urgency, the buzzing air seemed electric. Was the tide turning? With a final breath, she found the strength, the very essence of who she was, raw and fiery. I'm not afraid of your darkness. I am the light. The words exploded from her, and for the first time, she stood bold, hands outstretched as the shadows wailed, twisting and thrashing against her proclamation. But just as she believed she might tether the chaos, a rumbling beneath her feet shook her focus. The ground splintered, expanding into a cavernous abyss, darkness swirling beneath. Could she pull herself and her ghosts from this brink, or would this gaping chasm pull them all under? The shadows laughed, a hollow echo reverberating through the air. In that instant, a mysterious figure emerged from the depths, cloaked in the very darkness she fought. A disembodied voice whispered, "Welcome to the reckoning." What awaited them on this threshold? Would she summon the strength to confront the ultimate darkness, or would she drown in the very abyss she sought to escape? The darkness echoed, swirling, alive with expectation. The mysterious figure loomed closer, its features obscured by folds of shadow. Every instinct screamed at her to retreat, to fall back and hide, but she was tethered by the weight of her own choices. Who are you? She demanded, voice trembling but resolute. The specter tilted its head, a cruel smile flickering at the edges. Ah, a seeker of truth, are we? It hissed, each word slithering out like smoke. You must understand, the abyss welcomes those who wish to confront their true selves. But it demands a price. The ground beneath her quivered again, threatening to consume her whole. A price? She echoed, heart racing. The abyss felt alive, a gaping mouth ready to swallow her story whole. It felt surreal, like one of her worst nightmares had become disturbingly real. Yes, the voice breathed with chilling nonchalance. The weight of your past cannot simply vanish. It must be repaid, and only through suffering can you find freedom. Her defiance faltered. I won't accept that. I've faced my mistakes. I'm fighting for my redemption. Yet, deep down, the echoes of her past gnawed at her, a persistent whisper of doubt. Redemption? It countered. Redemption comes when you face who you really are, not who you wish to be. Let me show you what awaits at this edge. With a wave of a shadowy hand, visions surged through her, a flood of memories, raw and unfiltered. She saw faces twisted in pain, the boy with sad eyes, and her betrayal smeared across each scene like blood on a canvas. Guilt swirled, wrapping around her, tightening with every heartbeat. No, no, please, she gasped, drowning in the weight of the past. The consequences follow you like shadows in the dark, the figure taunted. You cannot run from what you've done. A reckoning is necessary, and it will come at the most inopportune time. Perhaps at 3 a.m.? Chills spread through her as the atmosphere shifted. It felt as if the shadows shifted and danced with malicious glee while her heart beat like a war drum. This was deeper than she thought. It was a creeping horror that spanned beyond time and space. What does that even mean? Her voice came out as a whisper, practically begging for answers. The abyss trembled beneath her, almost mocking her desperation. The karma of your choices shall manifest, my dear. Wealth, success, and peace are often illusions we chase in the bright light. Watch closely, it said, fingers unfurling to display a swirling void. Suddenly, haunting images cascaded around her. The faces of those she'd wronged loomed spectrally within the shadows, an endless line of disappointment etched on their features. Struggling to breathe against the weight of her regret, she stumbled backward, feeling the edge of that swirling dark gulf. Integral choices, currency counting down, and every 3 a.m. moment when the weight of guilt flooded in, encased her mind. She realized that every breath she had taken in the daylight was tethered to the shadows that haunted her, but as terror threatened to pull her under, a sliver of defiance sparked within her. I refuse to be its victim, she declared, ready to face whatever awaited her. In response, the specter erupted into a fit of laughter that echoed like thunder in the depths of the cavern. Let us see if you truly have what it takes when temptation sways you anew. What will you sacrifice to save yourself, and the ones you've wronged? The air thickened with uncertainty, and she felt the abyss coaxing her closer. Did she have what it takes to conquer this reckoning, or would she be consumed by the shadows of her past? As the whispers of the past swirled louder, clawing at her resolution, she took a stand, pulse racing, waiting for the next move in this treacherous dance. What part of her heart would she sacrifice, and would it be enough to extinguish the darkness? Seconds stretched between grip and release as the boundaries of her courage teetered on a knife's edge. The shadows churned violently, and she felt them closing in on all sides. The phantom's laughter echoed like splintering glass, feeding on her fear. But embodied in the depths of despair, a flicker of determination sparked within her. Could she really confront her past, acknowledge the pain she'd caused, and find freedom in the truth? The faces of the lost whispered in her ears those she had wronged. Their anguish mirrored in her heart, demanding compassion and understanding. What will you sacrifice? The demon asked again, its voice slicing through the air. What will it take to show you the cost of your desires? A question long buried surfaced. What would she give to shed the weight of her ambition, to unearth the light hidden beneath layers of greed? I will take accountability for my choices, she yelled, fists clenched. In that defiance, she felt something shift. The darkness shimmered, and reflections of herself twisted within it. A cacophony of laughter erupted from the shadows, mocking her declaration. Ah, but understand this, surrender is not the same as sacrifice. Will they take me too? The thought swelled like an impending storm, drenching her in doubt. Could she let go of the wealth she had managed to cling to? Would it mean leaving behind everything she thought she had? She stepped back as the ground trembled beneath her feet, threatening to pull her into the abyss. Unseen souls writhed at the fringes, their hollow eyes begging for acknowledgement. I see you, she cried out, the intensity of her voice piercing through the darkness. You are not just shadows. You were families, friends, loved ones. Your dreams mattered, your stories mattered. Her fierce declaration startled the obscuring dark. Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. But what are you willing to give? The specter insisted, its form flickering like a flame in the wind. To spare your own life from this eternal night? I will let go of the wealth that binds me, she breathed, a wave of unexpected clarity washing over her. I had thought riches would free me, but they nearly destroyed me. Enlightening, the figure hissed, but danger crept back into its tone. But do you have the heart to do it? Show me. She stared into the depths of the abyss, convictions solidifying like steel. Taking a breath, she stepped forward, mirroring the fractures that still gripped her, a mosaic of her past, all her ambitions laid bare. Let me meet them, she said, voice echoing across the square, all of you whose paths I took for granted. I will stand before my actions and the weight they carried. The shadows twisted in hesitation. You think they will forgive you? Wasn't it you who shackled them to their despair? Yes. And now I will be the one to help set them free. Her spirit surged with a ferocity that rerouted her fear into action. The abyss swelled, revealing ethereal figures, faces twisted yet familiar, those she forsook along her climb. The darkness recoiled as if testing her bravery. But she could feel their pain despite the unnatural longing for retribution. "I'm sorry," she choked, "I'm so sorry for what I've allowed my ambition to do to you. You did not deserve my wrath, you deserve so much more than the ghosts I've made of you." The wind carried her words, and for a fleeting moment, their expressions softened, an unspoken hope shimmering in the hollow void. But she was still tethered to her selfishness. "What must I do?" she implored, wrapping her hands around the lifeline of sincerity. "I will give everything to change what I've done." The spectre's eyes glinted, watching her like a predator. "Very well. Unearth your soul, anoint this darkness with your tears, your shame, your regrets. Cast them forth. Only then will they be freed. Only then can you release your chains." Heart racing, she stepped once more into the shimmering dark. She felt raw, exposed, as memories rushed through her, the cut of betrayal, the ache of ambition. She met each sorrowful gaze. "I am here," she whispered. "I am sorry." A wave of energy swept through her, and each painful memory clawed at her heart, desperate to be acknowledged, demanding release. Each haunting image whispered their agony back to her. The boy with sad eyes cried out, she felt her heart splinter for the pain she had ignored. Each recognition threatened to drown her regret, unfurled like tidal waves, begging to surface. "I heard you," she lamented, tears spilling onto the cobblestones. "But I can't live in greed any longer. I can't take another breath unaware of your suffering. Let my apology build a bridge. Please." With every word, the shadows shimmered, collapsing into a stream of light, weaving through her tears like an embrace of ancient sorrow and hope. And as she opened her heart, baring her soul, she felt something within her crack, splitting apart the chains that bound her to that greedy past. It felt painful but liberating, like the first breath of fresh spring air after a long winter. The chorus of lost souls closed around her, a shimmering fusion of regret and release. They whispered their forgiveness, and in that fragile moment, the weight of countless shadows fused with light. Everything shifted, polished and clear, her heartbeat sank beneath the weight of sacrifice. The specter, caught in the resonance of her truth, shrieked as the shadows coiled back, retreating into the depths, a cacophony of enraged howls echoing in the distance. In the stillness that followed, she stood there, heart racing, surrounded by the ghosts she had forgotten. Redemption enveloped her, its warmth washing over her like sunbeams breaking through the darkest clouds. "I'm sorry," she breathed to the silhouettes, still flickering around her. "Thank you for the chance to change, thank you for your courage." She felt a tranquility settle, a bond formed through vulnerability instead of greed. With a final shimmer of clarity, she turned toward the stone path of the town square, ready to step back into the world, holding the past lightly, but firmly in sight. She had discovered the cost. But in confronting the shadows, she had unearthed something deeper: hope, love, and the strength found in humility. As the clock struck 4, the darkness that had once threatened to claim her finally evaporated into a distant memory, and somewhere within her, she had reclaimed the ability to dream again, this time not for wealth, but for a life defined by worth, connection, and kindness. And with that, she finally found peace. You need to subscribe now so you can keep up with these incredible journeys. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to fuel the algorithm, and help others discover this story. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories, join the conversation. And for the love of all that's good, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share.